There's this organization, it was called the Turkic Union some years ago. It's now being revamped and now it's called the Organization of Turkic States. There are, at the moment, I keep an eye on it, at the moment, there were 5 permanent members. One of the nations to really be mindful of, together with Turkey, is Turkey's mad dog that I call Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is a nation to keep a very close watch on, and I believe it's going to play a huge role in the end times.
Alrighty guys, real quick, I just want to let you know that the full unedited version of this episode is actually available on the Patreon account. This is one of those video topics that can get really out of hand, especially on YouTube nowadays. You know what they're doing with all these videos. So if you want to get the full presentation about all of the geopolitical players that are going on in the Ezekiel 38 war, you want to go deeper into why Turkey is Gog and Magog and not Russia, go ahead, we'll see you over on the Patreon episode. This one is a wild one, and trust me, this is something you're really going to want to see. So I'll let her give the presentation, but there's so much more that needs to be said. We'll see you guys on the other side. So let's say, for instance, that, okay, so this is pointing to Turkey instead of Russia. All right. And so we also see within Ezekiel 38 that, Gog is the chief prince of Meshach, Tubal, right? Beth Tagorm is also mentioned. We also have Gomer.
Mm-hmm.
And we also see that other nations are with him, including Persia, Cush, and Put. So could you kind of give us an overview of what these nations are?
These nations are all Turkic peoples specifically. I believe that there's this organization, it was called the Turkic Union some years ago. It's now being revamped and now it's called the Organization of Turkic States. There are, at the moment, I keep an eye on it, at the moment, I think there were 5 permanent members. And I think one of the nations to really be mindful of, together with Turkey, is Turkey's mad dog that I call Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is a nation to keep a very close watch on, and I believe it's going to play a huge role in the end times. We know that there's conflict in Armenia, which I believe, unfortunately, is going to go through a very difficult time in the days ahead. I believe that Armenia is going to be invaded because they are thinking of the long game ahead. How do we raise up ourselves as a unique people groups? Because they have a very strong brotherhood, the Turkic peoples, which they're using to form a solid bloc. And I believe this is called what I like to call the Northern Bloc, the Northern Front, against the Southern Front, which is Saudi Arabia, the Abraham Accord nations, including Israel. So when this Gog-Magog alliance is formed with Persia, with Sudan, with Libya, they come to invade not just Israel, but I believe also to destroy Saudi Arabia. And we know through other scriptures in, say, Isaiah, Elam or Iran, in Iran, is going to be one of the primary instruments that the Lord is going to use. Because I believe the harlot, Babylon the Great, is in Arabia.
So you believe specifically, and I think that was all really good, you believe specifically that Persia is Iran, right? Because
I believe the word of God, when it mentions Persia, I believe it's not talking just about Iran. Iran is just one country, but the region of Persia was a lot bigger than Iran. So I'm expecting Afghanistan and Pakistan to be a part of this coalition. In fact, I believe the relationships between Turkey, Pakistan, and Azerbaijan are going to grow a lot closer militarily, because Pakistan is it's a bankrupt, failed state. It's very sad what's happened with that country. My family background is Pakistani,
I've seen some
so
stuff.
It's quite sad to see where it's headed. Yeah. But I believe their military, Pakistani military, is going to be given over to Turkey and Azerbaijan. This is what I expect to happen according to the scriptures, which is interesting because an army is going to be given over to the Antichrist. There has to be millions of guys willing to serve the Antichrist. Think about it. He's raising an army, a military force. I want your audience to know how real this is. It's not something airy-fairy. This is
No,
corrupt.
this is really, yeah, this is like right on us, and we're gonna get into kind of more the geopolitics because I think that's really interesting to hear about. Because I
Yeah.
know Turkey, like I've seen some videos of yours that are just showing how Turkey is really going back to its Islamic roots, and I think the conversation of Islam kind of comes into this as well, because you have to ask yourself, okay, so let's say that God revealed to Ezekiel that this coalition of nations, including all the North African countries, including Persia, Iran, and then also including Turkey, are all
Mm.
Islamic nations, right?
Hmm.
So why
Hmm.
do you think? So why Turkey then? Like, why is Turkey going to be the one that leads this coalition together? Can you kind of give your reasoning behind that?
Turkey, I believe, I I think a lot of it has to do with its history, its past. We have to remember, a lot of people with Bible prophecy land talk about and emphasize, like over and over again, like a broken record, the Roman Empire, right? People forget there was another kingdom that defeated the Roman Empire, and that was the Islamic Ottomans Empire. That came after Rome and completely took over. Completely. We're talking about changing the language, the
Mm-hmm.
culture, the heritage, the religion. And I would like to ask another question is what's the significance of Turkey and Jerusalem? And the answer is remember what Erdogan said. Erdogan, this must be 3 years ago now, he said in one of his speeches that Jerusalem is a red line for Muslims. Connection with the Islamic world and Jerusalem. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
who controls Jerusalem today? I always ask this question. People think the Jews rule the world. Well, I like to ask those people who think that who is actually in control of Jerusalem today? It's not the Jews.
Really? I mean, for me, I would say America, but I mean, I know that relationship's been declining pretty quick, but I could be totally wrong and I wouldn't know it.
America, yeah. Who's in control? Who has the most influence, autonomy, stronghold over the region? And it's the
I mean,
Islamic
I would
world,
say
the
Turkey.
Islamic nation. You've got the Palestinian issue that has been disregarded in the Abraham Accords, and now they're upset about, well, when are we going to bring that back to the table? I believe Saudi
Mm-hmm.
Arabia is going to be signatory to the Abraham Accords. We'll wait and see. But this will give
Mm-hmm.
more reason for the northern nations to really despise Saudi Arabia even more. There's a fight
Mm-hmm.
basically within the Islamic world. Who's going to be leading the Ummah in the future before the end times? There's a
Mm-hmm.
big hoo-ha about it. Like an underlying, it's not very obvious, but under the radar there's a intense hostility or animosity, I would say, like rivalry.
Right.
You have rivalry between kingdoms, empires, and I believe
Right.
this rivalry is between Turkic peoples and the Arabs, and they've had wars in the past. If you look back in history,
Mm-hmm.
there's been so much trouble between these two people groups. I say
Mm-hmm.
people groups because it's a big deal to them. Not all the Muslim worlds are Arabs. There's a mixture
Yeah.
of different ethnicities, different people groups, different cultures. But Islam came and united them all together, which is so
Mm-hmm.
similar to what the word says about the 10 toes and the 10
Mm-hmm. It
horns.
specifically
Mixture.
says that the kingdom will be divided, which I think is really interesting
Yes,
because you have the Sunnis and the Shias, and everybody's looking at
right.
Rome. They're like, oh, it's talking about the Western Roman Empire, it's talking about the Eastern Roman Empire. I'm like, no, there's clearly a distinction being made that this empire that's coming in the last days is going to be divided.
Mm-hmm.